all these windows open. The chatbot is just like trying to get a hold of me. And just, hey, every single one. Hey, get out of there. Here he goes again. Get out of there. All right, we're about to start. What's up, everyone? I'm Sam, and today we are going to take a look at what fits on a 10th gen Honda Accord. This is the Accord that started being sold in 2018, is currently for sale as of today when we're filming this sick video. Before we dive into all this what fits business, I should remind you that we will be using the gallery on fitmentindustries.com to show you what actually fits in this platform and looks good. The gallery is an extremely powerful tool to show you what fits on any given platform and how other enthusiasts have modified their cars. So the 10th gen Honda Accord is a popular platform for modifications that can quickly turn this from a fun commuter vehicle to a pretty sweet head turner. Honestly, Honda kind of nailed it with this generation of the Accord from the looks department, and also has some cool powertrain, drivetrain options. You could even get a little baby Type R engine made into a manual transmission. All right, let's take a look at 3 examples of the 10th generation Accord to determine what fits. Let's take the usual path from more of an easy daily driver setup at first to more of an extreme something later on. All right, disclaimer, I managed to choose only white Honda Accords in here. I apologize, but that's what I decided to go with for what fits today. So the first Honda Accord we're looking at is a 2019 Honda Accord Sport. It is running some rotiforms, 19 by 8.5 in the front plus 35, and it's a staggered setup, the rear being 19 by 10 plus 35. It's running some 225 35s in the front and 255s 35s in the rear. And it is lowered on some BC Racing coilovers. So this is a staggered setup. Here's the more conservative of the 3 that we're gonna look at. But the staggered setup does work well for this car, even though it's front wheel drive, because the rear fender arches come out a little bit, and the staggered setup actually looks really good with the fitment to that fender to lip fitment on the car, which I said like 5 times in a row, so Colin will have to edit that out. Anyway, so this is lowered on BC Racing coilovers with a staggered setup, which does look really good on these cars, even though they are front wheel drive. With the 19 by 8.5 front and 19 by 10 rear, it is on the conservative side of things. You could go a little lower here, but there is no rubbing, no scrubbing, no modification needed to run this setup. And also no excessive camber at all. Like I said, just a good daily driver setup. All right, so we're moving up a year now. We're gonna look at a 2020 Honda Accord Sport. It's white again, because I chose only the white Accords today. This 2020 Honda Accord Sport is running some Graham lights, 19 by 9.5 plus 45 in the front and rear. So this is a square setup. So the offset is a little less aggressive, but the wheel width is actually a little wider, and it is running some 255 35s all around. So that's similar to what was the previous car for the width of the tire, but it's a little bit of a meatier setup. And this has kind of an absolutely perfect fender to lip fitment with that tire and wheel combination. This one is lowered on some coilovers as well, and once again, no rubbing or scrubbing, no modification needed, but there is a rear camber kit on the rear to give it a little bit of tuck, or a little bit of additional negative camber so it fits on the car, especially if you're going over speed bumps or anything like that. All right, so the last Accord that we're gonna look at today is a 2018 Honda Accord. It's a touring version, a little fancier here. This one got some big 20-inch row Hondas. It is a squared setup again, so it's 20 by 10 plus 40 all the way around, and running some very meaty 275 30 tires. By medium, meaning the width, so from the rear of the car, this thing looks a little bit more aggressive. The sidewall is quite a bit thinner in order to fit the larger diameter 20-inch wheels. This car is lowered just on lowering springs, so when you look at it on the rear, if you went with coilovers, you could lower it a little bit. As far as the rubbing or scrubbing, this says no rubbing or scrubbing, no modification needed here, but this is quite a bit more of an aggressive setup with the 20-inch wheels, so you aren't going to be able to go as low as the previous cars that we saw on the 19s. Overall, really good setup if you want to run a bigger wheel. You just won't be able to go as low, or you will run into some issues, especially on the front with the front fender rubbing on the tire. All right, so those are a couple examples of what fits on a 10th gen Honda Accord. It kind of depends on what you want to do with your car, but my personal choice is something along the lines of the second car we looked at. This is a good mix of great fitment, but still daily usability. With this setup, you're looking at a 19 by 9.5 wheel with a plus 45 offset on a 255 35 tire. If you go with a narrower wheel, like an 8.5, you can get away with a more aggressive offset, something like a plus 35. Although you can totally fit 20s under the 10th gen Honda Accord, but you're going to need to be okay living with some camber and maybe a little bit of rubbing fender adjustment if you do try to go low. So now you know what fits on a 10th gen Honda Accord. I want to say thanks again for watching, guys, and be sure to check out everything we have on fitmentindustries.com for wheels, tires, and suspension. I'm Sam, and thanks again.